In Pokemon Go PvP, survival is power. In the top meta, you will find defensive titans like the compact ball of solid steel, Registeel. The physical manifestation of bulkiness, defense form Deoxys. The literal armored fortress, Yodan. However, there is one defense behemoth to rule them all, the embodiment of defense itself, and that is Shuckle.
It's all up to Shuckle! 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 Woo! Yes! That is win number 10,000. I would like to dedicate this Shuckle win to the good friend Galaxica Bolton, one of the first PvP YouTubers I watched. Fantastic battler and fellow Shuckle enthusiast.
Hello everyone! My friend HomeSliceHenry reached 10,000 GBL wins with Shuckle, and I was honored to have that game dedicated to me as a fellow Shuckle enthusiast. So make sure to check him out if you haven't already, because he makes very entertaining Pokemon Go videos. I will put some links in the description. So Henry, when you dedicated that accomplishment to me, I wanted to give back by dedicating this video to you. I played 25 games with Shuckle in the last day of Great League and I managed to win 10 of them. So here I will show some highlights from that day. So firstly, I need to find some kind of team that I like and that works, that basically can beat 3 of my opponent's Pokemon using only 2 of my own. And my idea here is to run Jumpluff and Scrafty. And my first opponent is Puro Counter. And the idea here is that Scrafty can often sweep teams, or it has a good chance of sweeping teams with 2 shields, because you just ramp up a bunch of power-up punches, and then it becomes unstoppable. So then I have Jumpluff in the lead to deal with fighters and Azumarill, but now I'm up against a very difficult lead. And you see I run Solar Beam and Acrobatics, and Solar Beam is just to force a shield advantage if my opponent doesn't want to get one shot. So my entire idea is to have Scrafty in the end and sweep. So I come in with Shuckle to absorb all of this damage from the Altaria, and then even though I deal super effective rock throw damage, it's still basically nothing. But at least I can easily survive a bunch of these. And here Shuckle has the lowest attack in the game, so of course my opponent is not gonna shield, right? Whoops, they shielded. So now I have a 2-shielded Scrafty against an Altaria. I will of course shield this, because my opponent has 2 full health Pokemon in the back. And I'm starting to ramp up these power-up punches. And then my opponent stays in, giving me a bunch of almost free energy. It's not entirely free, since I still take Dragon Breath damage, but now I'm kind of in a good position, but my opponent has another fighting counter in the back. Here I made 5 counters, because that 5th one is basically for free, since if I only make 4, I'm still gonna take damage from 3 air slashes, but, well, it didn't matter. So my first game I lost, and then I tried a bunch of different teams, and in the first set I only won 1 game, but then I switched up my team to a Frostless and Abomasnow instead, and it's a Shadow Abomasnow. Next I will show a game against Bumahdi, and he leads with an Altaria, which is super good for this team, because it doesn't matter where I have the Altaria, if it's against Frostless or Abomasnow, I'm still gonna destroy it. So my opponent switched into a Talonflame, so there might be some ABA flying lines in Great League right now. But I'm staying in here, I'm not switching into Shuckle immediately, because I want to take both of my opponent's shields, so that Abomasnow can hopefully sweep in the end. So I'm taking both of my opponent's shields, and then I go into Shuckle, and here I deal double super effective rock throw damage. It's still not much, but it's something. And now he's triple debuffed, so suddenly my attacks actually deal damage. And I didn't use my charge move there, because I actually want to have a free Powder Snow worth of damage. And now the Altaria in the back is completely dead, whatever it does. So here I will make 7 Weather Balls to do my Weather Ball right before my opponent reaches Sky Attack. And then it one-shots, of course, because it's double super effective, and my opponent's last Pokemon is an Azumarill. So this is looking like a very nice and clean win for this double ice team. And what I really did like about this game was that Shuckle actually did put in some work. It took down half the HP of a Talonflame and absorbed a whole bunch of damage, so that was great. Next up is a game against Kirill Pogoshev, and he leads with a Scrafty, which is very nice for Frostless as long as I can shield all of the foul plays and call all of the power-up punches. So I'm going to use 7 Powder Snows to hit the CMP tie against the Scrafty, because of course they are not going to use their charge move after 5 or 6 counters, because then I know it's a power-up punch and I will of course not shield. So then again I use 6 more, because the second foul play only costs 6 counters to use, and then my opponent double shields. So this is great. I am in a really good position, because I called 2 foul plays and now I will be able to have energy advantage and still a whole bunch of HP on Frostless. And there I made only 6 Powder Snows, because if I make 7 then that's the easiest catch in the world for them to make. And then they have a Togekiss in the back, and of course an Avalanche is going to one-shot it. And then my opponent's last Pokemon is a Gengar, so this was just a super clean 2 Pokemon sweep by Frostless, and then I go into Abomasnow. And here I need to undercharge this so that I don't KO the Gengar, so that I can switch into Shuckle and show it to my opponent. Next battle is against Esco, and Esco leads with a Swampert. So this is good for Frostless, but it's not super good, and my Abomasnow would of course much rather go up against the Swampert. I do get the piggyback, so that's very nice, and it seems like my opponent is throwing exactly as they reach the charge moves, so therefore I'm going to use my Avalanche at 4 mud shots. So I hit the CMP tie to not give my opponents any sneaks, and then I'm letting this Hydro Cannon through. And after 5 more Powder Snows, I'm switching into Shuckle to use it as an extra shield against this Swampert. And then it seems like my opponent is scared senseless by this Shuckle, because they throw the next Hydro Cannon immediately. So even though Shuckle has so much defense, 2 Hydro Cannons are strong moves and they are super effective, so it was able to take Shuckle out. And then I can have my Abomasnow up against the Swampert, and my opponent banked the move, so I need to remember that. And then I have a huge amount of energy on both Frostless and on Abomasnow, and I'm going to call this bait. If they have a Flash Cannon, then I'm going to be one-shot, and so be it, but they went for Power Whip and I survive it no problem, and then I overfarm a little bit and then go for a Weather Ball that will take out this Ferrothorn. So this is just, I'm trying to be as efficient as possible when I have basically just 2 Pokemon against my opponent's 3. And then it turns out my opponent has an Altaria in the back, so now my Avalanche and Weather Ball will absolutely demolish this Altaria, because it's double super effective, and then my opponent's Swampert is not going to do anything else in this game, so that's a GG. My next opponent is Pukuquaxl, and he leads with a Cresselia, so that's very nice for Frostless, but it's not overwhelmingly good, since Cresselia can actually tank 1 super effective Shadow Ball. But then they go into a Clefable, so I'm going to stay in for a while and charge up some extra energy, and then go for an Avalanche. And then I don't want to risk my Frostless dying this early, so I'm switching into Abomasnow to farm up the last bit of HP on that Clefable. So now I have a ton of energy on Frostless and a ton of energy on Shadow Abomasnow, but basically both of them are already getting kinda low. And my opponent has a Surfetched in the back, so I will be able to reach 2 Weather Balls and basically force both of my opponent's shields, since it's super glassy. And then my opponent has a lot of energy here, so I'm going in with Shuckle to hopefully get my opponent to throw their energy on it. And they use 1 charge move, and of course I'm not shielding because I need my shield for Frostless, because my opponent's Cresselia has a move. And then they use even more energy, 2 close combats, and I want to one-shot that Surfetch as soon as possible, but my opponent doesn't let me. He goes into Cresselia immediately and catches my Avalanche. So now I'm in a rough spot. My opponent still has 2 Pokemon with basically half of their health, so I need to play this accurately. My opponent was 6 Psycho Cuts away from the next charge move, so I made 6 more of those, and then I double up on Avalanche and can defeat the Cresselia and then one-shot the rest of the Surfetched. So that was very close, but it's a GG. Next up is Monkey Andrew, and he leads with a Yodan, which is a tricky matchup for this team. So what I do here is I go into Shuckle and then I click that top left button and then I exit out, and this saves a lot of time. Next up is a game against Ritan-chan, and this time she leads with a Venusaur, and this is pretty decent for me. But this Venusaur actually has Razor Leaf, so I'd much rather have a Abomasnow up against it. So I'm going to stay in for one Avalanche and force a shield, and then my opponent counter switches into Bastiodon and I set a new world record in Quick Resignation. Next up is and then some numbers, and he leads with an Obstagoon, which is pretty bad for Frostless since the Obstagoon will outpace me. But then they go into a Swampert and I can counter switch into my Abomasnow. And I'm kind of afraid of the Sludge Wave, so I'm going to shield, but my opponent runs Earthquake, so that's very nice. I overfarm a bunch and then go for the Energy Ball to take out the Swampert, and hopefully I can force some more shields with Abomasnow and then sweep with my Frostless. So I charge up to an Energy Ball and then bait with a Weather Ball, and my opponent does not shield. So hopefully they don't have the Cross Chop, and they seem to be going for Night Slash at least, which let me reach one more Weather Ball, and now I get the shield. So in this position my opponent has a bunch of energy, but I also have a bunch of energy, and they make the mistake to switch into a Venusaur when I have energy advantage on Frostless. So this is actually an amazing position. I charge up to 100 energy before throwing my next Avalanche, and then I didn't really keep track of how much energy they have, so I didn't dare to overcharge any more than one more Powder Snow and take out this Venusaur, and hopefully I can reach one Avalanche to take out this Obstagoon, but I didn't, and my Frostless is so low that Night Slash will take me out. So now it's all up to Shuckle to finish this, and Shuckle is such a tanky tank that it can easily tank both 1 and 2 and also 3 Night Slashes probably. So my opponent keeps spamming out these Night Slashes, but they're not gonna do anything, and the power of the almighty Shuckle will destroy this Obstagoon with a Stone Edge. And that's it for this video. Shout out to HomeSliceHenry, and thanks for watching.